Yeah, the bugs. Go to Louisiana. How are y'all gonna survive the winter? All the new kids are from the cold. What? It's not gonna cool down. This is it. Thank you all for coming out again. This is really a great pleasure for me, and it's really awesome to see so many people in Malvern Books. So pad your bookshelves if you need recommendations. Mark and Anar in the back, they can help you with almost anything. Joe and I can also point you in the right direction. Just a few quick announcements. This is our 1-year anniversary, so we have more festivities this weekend. Tomorrow night we will have a reading with UT's own Kurt Heinzelman and ACC's Joe Hoppy, also Richard Sober. And then on Sunday, Dr. Fred McGee and Richard Bailey will be reading, and there will be film. It's about the Montopolis neighborhood in South Austin. And then we'll have live music from Topsy, local Austin crew. And on Tuesday of next week, the Raw Paw magazine, which we have for sale in the back, and is freaking beautiful. It's really pretty. It's a local magazine hosted by David Jewell. We'll have their reading series here. And Kate and Adam and our next reader, Noah, are all part of Bat City Review, the UT magazine. Bat City Review has a reading on the 28th. It's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. at Cherrywood Coffees. So, that's not the right bio. All right, our final reader is going to be Noah Weisz, who grew up in Silver Springs, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. The characters in his stories are much better jugglers than he is. Noah?
Thanks, Taylor. Thanks, everyone, for coming. So I'm going to read an excerpt of a short story called How to Juggle. And two things you should know before I start. The first is a juggling club is one of those pins that you see people juggling, kind of, long things you see at circuses. Those are called juggling clubs. And when I say Sopwet, it's spelled S-O-P-W-E-T-T, and it's an acronym that you'll hear what it means at some point in the story. So, how to juggle. Start with one ball, I told her. Just toss it from hand to hand. Her name was Grace, though she didn't have much. The only reason she could give for showing up at our Sopwet meeting was an inexplicable whim, an itch for something new. She confessed she could barely catch a beach ball. She tripped on one of Halpern's juggling clubs within 10 seconds of walking into the room, and I swear, if Ezra were still Shomer Nagia and hadn't reached out an arm to catch her, she would have broken a bone. It's easy to picture. There we were, the four of us, in the bright, high-ceilinged practice room in the Performing Arts building that we reserve each week. 4 Jewish boys throwing stuff in the air, heads tilted up, sweat shining on our foreheads, joking about classes and movies over the techno music pulsing from a laptop on the floor when this slender Korean girl walks into the room with a serious frown on her face and looks at me, of all people, and says she wants to learn how to juggle. She didn't have to be superhumanly clumsy to be the cutest girl on campus right then. Bring any balls? Halpern had asked her. I could have hit him. Ezra and Gabe tried to hide smiles. No, she said, with a perfectly straight face. I didn't expect there to be a shortage. Halpern grinned. I think you'll fit right into Sopwet. Josh, I nominate you. That was pretty generous of him. He did have a girlfriend, but still. I stole glances at her face as I taught her. 1 ball first, then 2. When she insisted, I showed her how to do 3, though she hadn't caught 2 balls in a row more than half a dozen times. I held off giving her too many helpful hints. I had a vague idea that she might not come back if she got it too quickly. All right, bitches, said Halpern after a while, rubbing a powerful forearm. Show me some passing. Harry Halpern is our king. As Jewish-looking as they come, Halpern, though his mother is a hot blonde atheist Catholic. He had a bar mitzvah and went to Hebrew school as a kid, but nowadays he'd order a cheeseburger with bacon and a milkshake on Yom Kippur just to spite you. He's our clubs man. He can do 3-up pirouettes with 5 clubs, which makes the rest of us look like beginners. Grace backed into a corner near the door to keep practicing while the rest of us paired up. Two-person juggling, otherwise known as passing, is one of the things we do best at Sopwith. Arms up and down and 1, 2, 3, 4, pass, 2, 3, 4, pass, 2, 3, 4, pass, 2, 3, 4. I was conscious of Grace's eyes on me. I dropped a throw from Ezra. Bending to pick it up, I pretended not to notice her. As we raised our arms to start passing again, Ezra made the smallest motion, nudging his nose with his fingertip. I read the message, subtly brushed the hanging booger away from my nose, and waited for the all clear. He nodded. This is how you know who your real friends are. Aside from being my roommate, Ezra is also our secretary. He sends out the emails over the list host, announcing the next sacred conclave of the projectile possessed, signed in Gothic font by the Honorable Sir Juggleworth McClubbenshaw, Esquire, and generally containing 10 to 20 spelling mistakes. Ezra grew up in an Orthodox family, but slipped off the path because, as a video game-loving, dyslexic math genius, he felt slightly out of place in the community. Plus, the prohibition on touching girls started getting on his nerves. Now he's one of these Challah and Manischewitz Jews. If Halpern spends Yom Kippur laughing at everyone who's fasting, Ezra spends it playing Halo with some guys in our room, but makes sure to come with me to the break fast at the end for the bagels. You have to respect him because even though reading still gives him a headache, that never gets in the way of his twisted creative mind. He writes dystopian sci-fi novels for fun, this guy, though I've always suspected the worlds he invents are really the one he grew up in. To some people, it might be surprising that from the beginning all four of us in Sopwith were Jewish. But the campus Hillel is washed up. The last of the old donors cut the strings last year. No more free dinners on Friday nights, no more free Passover seders, no more illustrious speakers or artists in residence. The only free stuff remaining nowadays, aside from the Orthodox services that Gabe goes to, is monthly board game night and Tuesday morning yoga. I think that's why Sopwith grew from Halpern's crazy idea into an unofficial Jewish social group. You don't mean to, but you end up hanging around with other Jews. My dad says it's a survival instinct bred into our genes over millennia of persecution. If you don't have a fully functioning Hillel, the community forms elsewhere. The point being, we're probably the only Jewish juggling club in the Midwest. Which explains the second unexpected appearance at Sopwith that afternoon. "Can I help you?" Halpern said to the man in the doorway. He was wearing a suit, a black hat, and a neat black beard. "Is this the society of people who enjoy throwing things?" "It is indeed," said Halpern, with an obliging smile. "Crazy parties are our specialty, but we also have an interest in balls." The man said nothing. His sharp eyes simply moved on, as though he were used to ignoring things, and found Gabe, the only one of us with a kippah on his head. "This is a Jewish club?" I looked over at Grace. She was staring at the man from her corner a few yards away. When she caught my eye, she blushed a little and went back to butchering the cascade pattern. "No," said Gabe, "but the four of us are Jewish." The man turned and beckoned to someone in the hallway behind him. A kid, maybe 12 years old, stepped inside. Black hair under a black kippah, white tzitzit hanging out from under a crisp white button-down shirt, black shoes, ghostly white skin. He looked at us for a moment before taking in the chaos of colors and shapes strewn across the floor, like the wreckage of a Dr. Seuss town hit by a tornado. His eyes roved over the juggling props for a long time, hungrily, and I had this sudden, ridiculous vision of his entire world in black and white, like the photographs of the old country in my grandfather's album that I'd brought back to campus with me at the beginning of the year. "My son wants juggling lessons," said the man. "Thank you."
Thank you all so much to all the readers, and thank you all for coming out. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I hope you continue to enjoy yourselves. Good night. Thanks again.